All right, so as I was just talking about, tomorrow should be the start of something very interesting, like super interesting. Um, it's gonna be a lot of changes that's gonna affect volatility. We coming off a super hot month, going into a new one, and then this is also the final month into going into another quarter. So we beginning a new month, but we're closing out, getting ready to close out another quarter. So a lot of shifts and a lot of volatility. I'm expecting it, but it's going to definitely be crazy. So first and foremost, how everybody's feeling again? Everybody's good. Had a pretty good weekend. Hope everybody got some mental rest. That's most important away from the market. These Saturday and Sunday that we get while the market's closed is actually good for us, pretty beneficial. So hope everybody got some mental rest in. All right. First thing that we're gonna look at, the futures market is already open. So we're gonna check out ES and then we're gonna check out NQ first. All right. So let's see. Looked like most of last week it was pretty consolidated. Here we are starting the week off here Monday at 75.63. We retested that once, but didn't break out. So pretty much last week we saw what we expected. A pretty choppy week. Somewhat filled this gap down that we have down here around 70, 74.93. But once we broke out in the day Thursday, we've been on a slow increase. Looking like we're gonna probably find a top early this week. So we could keep this trend right here. It's still early within the 24-hour market, so anything can happen between now and market open tomorrow. But as of right now, I think we do continue to see a slow chop to the upside to start the week off. If we can hold above this 7,500 mark, 7,600, like right up in here. So if we break this, then we'll go back down and probably retest this because this was our prior rejection back over here. So anything that we do see possibly coming down into this week, we're still going to be looking at taking some calls, whether it happens early or late. Either we're going to begin the week with calls and finish probably with a cool down in the market, or if we make this dip, then it's going to be a strong finish to the end of the week. So like I said, it's still early in the 24-hour market, but anything can happen. But overall, I think we still keep seeing that increase and top out around this mid mark. And this is 76.33 to 76.64. That's going to be my top out range once we do decide to continue this uptrend and start breaking out towards some overextended areas. In Q, I think is already a bit extended. See, we are already over one of my red zones, which normally counts as being overbought. It's getting ready to hit another rejection zone right here, though. So, how this correlate with the with ES? This could contribute to the choppiness. If we see tech wants to cool down, but um, some of the other holdings are keeping it balanced. This is where we see that chop that we see weekly chop because one ETF is already somewhat over maxed out and keeping SPY from actually going higher or vice versa. So it's already kind of looking choppy, honestly, in my eyes from right now. NQ can reject a whole lot quicker than ES can, but the dips is what we'll have to time for the most part. So, like I said, we'll look for a dip around here. If we do, we'll look for calls around the beginning of previous week's highs and play out through the rest of the week. And even if we dip down here, this should still be some consolidation for calls. Like we haven't really made any structure for just long term puts just yet. So that's how we'll look at it. Don't forget to check to make sure your sounds. Appreciate you. I did check to see if this sounds recording, so that way, we can go ahead and post this back up. I appreciate you for reminding me, bro. Cause the last 2 weeks I recorded the full thing and went to check it later on and heard no sound. So I appreciate that. But like I said, on ES we don't have any just reason to go straight bearish yet. Everything's pretty good. I've been working on the dashboard indicator to kind of a sentiment. Yeah. So I got the structures kind of built out up here. And then I got the price targets where price needs to stay above or below in order to keep the sentiment alive. This shifts. I got profit targets over here, and then I got the duration that I want these targets to pretty much stay active at. So I've been working on it all day. It's not finished yet, but this should be able to help. Help us help us pick out strike prices a whole lot easier, and then determine when we're gonna be in certain chop zones, because I was testing it out on like CL, and you see how CL has some structures that's bearish and some that's bullish, and it gives us a mixed signal. So I think this is gonna help us out pretty much too, in guiding us with all of this volatility that we're gonna be, having to face pretty soon. So like I said, as of right now, both ES and both NQ have good bullish structure. If we do happen to see some dips, um, kind of like we saw on ES, I would take the first support for me on ES will probably be around here, just because we're discovering new all time highs right now. Make sure, yeah. And eventually there's gonna be some profit taking. It's just the timing of the profit taking that we really can't, you know, just rely on. But if we do happen to drop, then I'm gonna be looking for some structure back in between here. Great Ripple, what's up, my boy? How you feeling? Yeah, I'll be looking for some structure right in this zone right here, because that's what we've seen a lot of the chop in the previous week. So we can constitute this as some support here on the move back up if we happen to drop. Like I said, we're already, in my opinion, a bit overextended on NQ. And a lot of that plays a part into it being heavy in semiconductors. So if it's some profit taken in the morning or overnight, then that'll constitute for this coming down. But like I said, it's still bullish structure. Um, if we break below this area, then we could see some deeper pullback levels. But honestly, we'll deal with that when it gets here. So as of right now, we're still looking at not even peak structure, just a brief cool down and back into the previous week's, consolidation levels. So Bitcoin, as you all know, I've been watching crypto stocks pretty heavy. We played MSTR, I think once, and then we played Coin another day. MSTR kind of plays a little bit slower just because it doesn't move until Bitcoin moves, with it being leveraged using Bitcoin. So it has to follow the price action accordingly. As far as Coin goes, I guess it's not leveraged like that, and it kind of moves on its own, and it moves a whole lot faster back towards the upside when it does recover, a lot faster than Bitcoin. But right now, Bitcoin is still dropping dropping lower, making lower lows on bigger frames. Um, all right, so this is what we want to watch for to see how prices react, in the zone that is reaching right now. Because if you see what I'm pointing to with the arrows, this is where a lot of the volatility is happening in the zone that is currently in right now. So you see, back in February, we completely just prices just demolished this area. It didn't hold much of nothing. And since then, this It's kind of gray area right here has been where a lot of the volatility either happens to the upside or to the downside. So now we're back in this zone. Last time we was here, we recovered, but eventually retested, and here we are now, and it's kind of stalling. So this is gonna be real interesting. Um, I would kind of I would kind of go with the long side only if we see dips back within here, back within this black area right here. That's why I'd be looking for calls only because we're already going against what was already support turn resistance now. This would be our first time going up to retest this. So you see how it bounced here, but now once it retested it and it got bought up, but it rejected and it came back down. It didn't hold as well as it did this time. So prices are due for a small recovery back up here just to retest this what's this 75 200 zone. We're due to retest that, but you still want to count that as resistance until we can actually build some support back above here. So if prices do start to exhaust, of course we'll be checking for price to retest in here to buy the dip. Um, Same way we saw with these yellow arrows up here, how this was a hot zone. Well, this is the next one. And now that we've seen prices bought up here, we're just gonna assume as of right now that if prices come back down here, we're gonna use that as a springboard back to the upside, just to see if buyers are gonna step in here. Anything below here, back down towards the green, heavy sell. You can expect some nice volatility back up. Pretty much had a slingshot effect, maybe even a V effect, but um, it's still kind of lulling us to the downside if you pay attention to the just the long term trend. I don't really see any patterns to watch for. Let me let me double check and see. So we rejected right where it should have, because this was a big area of support at once upon a time. Jr, what's good, my boy? This was a big area for Bitcoin, and as you can see, if we looking at Bitcoin charts and we looking at NQ and we looking at ES, we see crypto just hasn't been keeping up very well with the rest of the market. So, I mean, something is very, very decoupled when it comes to crypto and, NQ and the rest of the market now. So, yeah, we're due another move to the upside, but it looks like it's retesting. So now that we've seen where the actual ceiling is as of right now, around that 81 300 level. Now we're going back to retest some support after we've seen this, consolidation right here. We're actually trickling down to retest a bigger level, a bigger time frame of structure. So if we do drop back down, then you know, the floor is still about 65,000 if you want to just look at it from a bigger scale. And as if we keep trading sideways, we haven't quite made this rounding bottom yet to where we actually see some holding support. So as of right now, we just got to keep playing the trend to the downside from a longer perspective until it actually starts giving us a rounding bottom, kind of like we've seen over here. And not so much over here. This was kind of volatile, but we've seen a sideways move to the upside, and it actually looks like what we're seeing right now. So still neutral on Bitcoin. If it does drop a lot lower, I think this would be something good to load up on going into the end of year, just because it hasn't really played out as well as the rest of the market has. So neutral on Bitcoin. Be watching for rejections on any spikes to the upside, but also if we buy any dips, the rip should be a whole lot quicker then the rip to the upside should be. Like I said, anything can happen, my guys. So coin was one of the ones that I wanted to continue keep emphasis on. So as you can see, it's kind of been sideways for the most part. It hasn't really done much of anything, but it's a nice bottom right here. It's a very nice bottom right here, around 145. Until that breaks, I mean, I can consider this a nice little uptrend. Even though we're borderline trying to break it right now, I still consider this a pretty decent stock to buy in a dip. Simply because it's showing value where it's at. Now once we break this, that's a whole completely different story. You deal with that when it comes. But as of right now in this green, we're looking at a lot of nice, excuse me, a lot of nice volatility back to the upside and possibly aiming back up here towards 211 or 212. So I'm definitely keeping coin and MSTR. Only thing about MSTR is sometimes it get on my nerves. Um, it likes to trade sideways in a lot of theta to really eat away at contracts, whether it's long dated or short dated. But I've been seeing that just buying coin right now is a whole lot. The volatility is a whole lot better on here, and it pays a whole lot quicker. So let's really go into and see what happened last week. All right, so this is what I really like going into coin this week that I saw last week. We saw the big buy up below 170. This is pretty much what we got in at for the massive move to the upside. We got in around 170, and I was willing to even take anything down to 165 um, as a double down, just because the structure was so volatile back around these ranges. We got a gap fill right here, a gap fill right here. So it's always been kind of one of those heavy, just once the gaps get filled, it takes off. It leaves Bitcoin and MSTR pretty much behind by dollars. So going into next week, let me see where we are right now. The 24-hour market should be open, but 170 is my high spot right now, and I'm continuing to believe that we're gonna push even higher towards this this 203, maybe even higher, back up to 220. Let's see, coin right now is at 189.80. So it's pretty much sitting right where it closed off. It rejected right here above 190. Prices are at 189.85. So, it's sitting right here. This is the structure right now. Like this is the high zone. If we can see the price action pretty much hold in here, then this is gonna keep going higher until it gets up here to fill this gap at 212.79. And the contracts for those are, and they're not even bad. Let's go look at the contracts for the 12. Let's go up to, I said 212. I get 212.50. So right now those contracts are at 295, but they look like they don't have a bunch of either volume or open interest. So let's look at 215. All right, so 215 is better. Cool. Yeah, the 215s are better for weeklies. Now, as of right now, Prices for those contracts have been recovering right below what 185. So anywhere around like 150 probably. Yeah, 142, 140. It has been a good price target to pick up 215 calls. Price loved them when it was below 85, and that's when we saw the spike from $85 all the way up close to what 385, 350. So that's what I was telling you guys on coin. It pays massively. Like the risk to reward is beautiful on these. So these are the contracts that I be watching just probably Monday and maybe Tuesday. Um, After Tuesday, I start kind of trickling into the following Fridays. But keep these 215s on your watch list with me. And if we happen to dip, the theta's probably gonna already eat into it just because we swung. Let me see if it's some better stuff. Everything looks like it's about the same. So we can play these levels until they give, but I'm looking for entries. Is if we see them entries below 185 on these 215 calls for Friday, and if we get down here under 85 or close to 100, then I'll probably really be looking to snatch them up, and this would be in confluence with any support levels on coin. So the support levels that I'll be watching for on coin will be anything back in this 182 to 180 level, because this is where we held up. So that's our first defense back to the upside. If we break here, then we'll look for any type of retest within these zones. But those contracts should be extremely cheap if we do happen to come back down here. Extremely cheap. So it's this would be easy money going to going into next week. Now MSTR, like I said, it's a little bit different because it kind of lags a little longer. But as you can see, it came alive what around 12 o'clock, 11:45, 12 o'clock. It finally starts to break out, and it made a nice move up to about 160 to 161. So like I said, this one kind of it waits on Bitcoin to actually make its moves, but coin makes the moves and then lets the rest of the crypto market catch up behind it. So going into this week, we're still looking at probably 178. I want to see if this gap fill gets filled up here. So 178 for the price target. We want to see entries at 154.54 and 150. Like we want to see if prices happen to dip back down there. We want to see prices come back down. Right now it's at 160.11. So it's right around here where it stalled out Friday. So right now it's here. If we happen to drop and come back down below the 154s, let's look at let's price the 175s. That way it gives it an opportunity to actually go in the money. Oracle, yeah, I'll check them out. If anybody else got any tickets or anything you want broken down or questions, um, make sure you just drop them in the comment. Which one we was looking at? 175s. Let's see how much those cost. All right, these ain't too bad. These not too bad. So these are the 175 calls for MSTR. They held their ground pretty good as far as prices go at 160 and below. They got as high as 400, 420. and this is where we are right now. So, like I said, depending on how prices hold overnight, um, of course, theta is gonna kick in a little bit. We're just gonna see how low these can go if we get a small little dip. If not, we probably could open up and these things already be $500 or some shit like that, because that's what they like to do sometimes. But if we can see a dip on MSTR, I probably wouldn't buy them until they drop below like $160 or below, just because I hate holding calls when they like this. At least show me a retest to 160. But yeah, we just don't want to get stalled out on that. We gotta. Well, I have a bad habit of entering MSTR calls too early, and we can see that it didn't. The calls actually didn't pop until like noon, and here we are sitting on a contract for 3 or 4 hours. So let's see. Service now, dope. Nvidia, of course. I just called it the new Apple because they consolidate for fucking months now. But like I said before I hop off of this, I'm looking at crypto heavy. I'm gonna be probably coin focus based. I mean coin, yeah, coin focus first, and then I'll be focused on MSTR just because we'll probably see delayed entries on MSTR. So um, let's look at Oracle. I think Jay Loco was playing with Oracle a little bit earlier before it pushed to where it is now. Did I type something in wrong? Oh, I be tripping sometime, family. Y'all gotta watch me. Yeah, this thing pumping. Yeah. So Oracle looks overextended right now. Let me see what Oracle prices are right now. It's at 232. Sheesh. So it's right. It's like right above here. Now I think it's overextended. It got as high as 238, so it rejected right at 238. All right. So overnight market, this is where it rejected it right there. That's our visual. And then right now it's lulling its way down here. So let's just say this would be a healthy trend, either down here or I wouldn't touch it even if it did go up even higher. Just because it's overextended, it's gonna have a gap to fill. Normally stuff like this, it spikes and it trickles down because it's already too fucking high already. So these are overnight moves, overnight gap ups that you want to stay away from to the call side or to the upside. The the theta, well, not the theta, but probably the IV and the spreads on the contracts in both directions are going to be extremely high because of the volatility. Um, yeah, I can't really call it. It should come back down back towards like 216 ish, but as of right now, it's hard to tell with it gapping up so high. $6, 650, so it's at 232. So let's just look at this. All right, it's at 232. Let's look at the 230, 216 puts and see if we can make some sense of it. Because one of them got to be priced correctly. And as far as the expiration date goes, June 5th. So let's look at June 12th, 2 weeks out. What I said, 216. The 215. It's already out the money. Nah, those suck. 220. Man. Okay, so these puts, it still got so much money left in them. It's already extremely beat up, but these contracts still got a long way that they could drop before all the money just extremely out of it. But if it's already up $6, then these contracts probably gonna open up somewhere down here at around like 950, 800. So the fact that it's already down so much, I don't think that the upside is gonna hold too much longer. Just because so much money has already been wiped out to these contracts, and really, the longer you go out, the better that you will be able to see it. So, what's on the 19th, Juneteenth? So the market will be closed on Friday. So we got a short week coming up. 26. Yeah. Oracle's gonna be kind of crazy. I wouldn't touch it just because of the volatility of it right now. But eventually, these 220 puts, they gonna come back at least to these red zones. They might not go all the way back to value, but I can tell you one thing: they gonna come at least to this red. That's about $1,000 drop, and it's even cheaper right now. It's probably gonna be somewhere between 13 and 1,000. Money's gonna flow back into these puts, one way or another. Versus if we look at the call side of it, let's go. If it's at 232, let's look at the 250. 250 calls. They're already super expensive. Super expensive. From $500 all the way up to 1,300, and it's probably even higher than that, like 1,500. That's probably the highest I would go out the money with calls if you're looking at Oracle calls. It's 250, and that's they already so yeah. Oracle puts to the downside. If I was to trade it, which I probably won't, but I would go with Oracle puts 220 out the money calls, and the longest expiration date that I would probably touch, uh, either the 12th or the 26th, just because it's already overextended. I'm not sure what the catalyst is that's moving it, but just be careful to the upside on that. Service now that's been a hot one. Huh? They just had a stock split. Now they already back in the limelight. So let's look at service now. Service now, it looks good, but it might be a little overextended because of the hype right now. It's at 133.58. Okay, so here's 133.71. It rejected at 137.37. So it rejected somewhere around here. It's 137, and it's loading its way back down to 133. It's kind of the same thing. I wouldn't really touch this until all the dust settled. Um, of course, the spreads are probably going to be extremely wide, so it'll be easier going with longer, longer dated puts. But when will it happen is the question that you wanna ask yourself. So it's just like Oracle. You see these massive gap ups, then you also hear that, The news is pushing it in a certain type of way to where it's building a catalyst. You almost don't want to touch them because you don't want to try and time entries or exits to either direction. I mean, look at Palantir Friday. We saw Palantir push all the way up to what 155, and it just sat there for the remainder of the day because it's burning entries and exits on in either direction. So with these massive gap ups, you kind of don't want to touch them, you know, just right now until it actually shows yourself, that is ready to make that move to the opposite direction. So let's look at Nvidia too. It's up $3.60. It's about time. I did put VIAV on the list too, but let's look at Nvidia. Oh yeah, we did see that crazy drop toward the end of the day on Nvidia. Okay, so I like Nvidia. I think Nvidia should be a whole lot higher. I think we should be sitting like up here or even higher towards like 250 almost. Um, we need to see a bottom form. We're kind of in a transition of finding one. We got to see how this recent rejection handles over here. So far, it's been bought up around 208. I was looking for calls for the breakout Friday above two like 217, but we never could quite get it, and then it sold off in the day. So right now it's at 214.68, so it's a little bit above here. So we're kind of like stuck in this area right here. That's kind of where we are right now. I like it to the upside. I think if this gap up holds and we find a dip back up in here, then I think we could have a good possibility to get this dip right here bought back up as we make our move back up to 220 and to 230, somewhere up there. But as much as Nvidia's been kind of lagging behind with the rest of the market, um, I still like it. But look at the chop on here. And we can go look at some contracts next. But look at the chop as far as Nvidia goes. Here's August, and from August of last year all the way to March of this year, we retested the bottoms and haven't really broken out except once to retest highs above 193. So this whole consolidation right here should constitute as a nice bottom that we should see. So between 169 and 194.50, this should play a very big role into how this market structure holds up, this chart structure holds up on Nvidia. If we do happen to come back down to 194, 195, I think that'll be an opportunity to really go heavy going out to the end of the year. Zscaler, I'll check it out too. But I think this would be a really big opportunity to really go long on Nvidia just because the earnings were dope. The stuff that they do with their company is, massive. They're not going nowhere. They chips banging. I mean, I think if Nvidia was running out right now, the market probably be a whole lot higher than what it actually is just because of the weighting. I mean, it's the number one holding in most of the ETFs. So, of course, it has to trade sideways because we saw the same thing when Apple was the number one holding, when Microsoft was the number one holding in majority of the ETFs. That's what happened. They were kind of capped as far as their price movements, and it pretty much allowed them to trade sideways for majority of the time they were that top holding. And they were the ones that performed better when the rest of the holdings weren't, simply because of how their percentage about holdings. So we have a rebalancing June 19th as far as the ETFs go. It'll be interesting to see how they rebalance all the ETFs, and we'll see what happens with that. But as of right now, Nvidia still looks pretty dope. If we go ahead and break it down with some levels, let's take that one off and add, yeah. All right. So as far as what we saw last week, like I said, right now Nvidia is retesting this 215 to 214 level. I think I said it was at 214.69. Yeah. So it's up around there and it rejected at 215.30. So right below here, what we saw Nvidia make its lows for the day before it broke that. So we're gonna keep watching this for a bottom. I don't I don't like that right there because selling could be accelerated if we drop back down within here. But if they're trying to keep it floated, they won't let it get down below here. They won't let it drop too far below this 210 area. If they drop it back down here, then it could flush all the way down back to 202, where we see the last real, somewhat semi solid structure right there. So right now we're kind of playing around with this one before it made that stair. Well, that's really like an elevator shit. But before it made this massive move up and then it came back down, this is what I kind of fear for if this structure doesn't hold down here around 194. We'll see that aggressive selling back down. It's gonna happen, but we just don't know when. So we're gonna keep playing the structure to the upside until something gives. Overall price target right now is going to be between 222 and 228. Let me see. Somebody said I got 285 calls to expire for 717. 285. Yeah, that's extremely high. And let me show you why. Just because of the structure right now. So yeah, we had all time highs, but as far as the projections for it, is is just not in reach at the moment. So we extend this little trend out that we got right here. Let's find 285. And this doesn't always work like this, but this just gives you an idea of how you can time your contracts and your expirations. So we're extending that line out, and 717 is right here. And even if we get like a healthy trend to the upside, we're looking at 245, 240, between 240 and 245. So in order to get that 285 to be, for the delta to keep up with the theta, it'll have to have an extremely aggressive move to the upside. Like we've seen with the rest of the semiconductors. So there's nothing wrong. You can make money with it, but it's easier to, take L's on because of that price range. The longer that price range just becomes unattainable, the faster and the more that contract's gonna start melting. So right now, like I said, I wouldn't go any higher than probably like 240 to 245 going into the summertime. Well, let's say 250. 240 to 250 going into the summertime. Let's look at the options chain. 717, 285. So, I mean, you've caught that contract pretty well, depending on where you caught it at. But right now they're around $80, and if it's actually up, these contracts might be back down here around like 60, somewhere around there where it's been bottoming out at. But as time goes, of course, it'll trade sideways. You'll still get these pops to these price targets, but it'll just be harder and harder for them to actually make money. Yeah, so I would sell them in the string whenever they start popping right now above. Let's say if it gets back up here around like 150 a contract, I'll probably trim some out for damage control and see if some runners could make up for the rest of the loss just to get some cash back, some cash flow. But as of right now, I wouldn't touch them. I wouldn't add any more on top of them. And then somebody said, "What about 220 calls for 6.5?" Oh, that's a weekly. 220. It was a good time to buy them. If you caught the 220 calls here around like $200, well, it didn't really drop too much lower below $200. That was kind of the actual support for entries on those. But the trim prices right now are $500. Anything above 425 and 500 to be your first round of profit taking, and then it could keep pushing itself up. But if we see that and you want to be reminded what to trim, either you can write these prices down and they'll let you know when to take profits, or you can just at me and I'll look it up real quick and be able to tell you where the trim profits at if you're in there. My actual due diligence though on Nvidia is, let me clear all this out. My actual profit taking or target levels on Nvidia it'd be 225. 225 to see if we can chase this gap up here at 233.82. So if I'm going weeklies, then I'm pushing 225s. We're at 214 right now. I'll be looking for damn, those was good. $40 a piece. But these are 225 weeklies. They probably not gonna be there. Entries will probably be best around $100. If not, it's gonna push up to 290, and they'll probably move fast. So calls on this one probably be a chaser, unless we just see something solid set up on it. You feel me? So we just gotta watch it. It's one to be patient on because it's already doing what it's doing, along with the rest of the market. But we just gotta wait on the setups. Mondays kind of suck anyways because everything's trying to get priced in and settled for the week. So it'll we'll just see how it plays out. VIAV. VIV Solutions. Okay. It actually looks good. It might be a little, let's see, June 1st. Okay, so it might be a little choppy going into this next month. It just closed on a red monthly candle. With tomorrow being June 1st, we're gonna have to see how it plays out going into earnings in August. So it could price action could be delayed a little bit, but ultimately you'll want to see it go back and attempt to break these highs at 57.15. That'll be the overall target. But as of right now, it's coming off of a red month. You can kind of see it trending downward, so we don't know if that could continue to play out into this following week. I see what a trend really is. It's not much. It's kind of been a floater. So price action looks more stable right there. All right, so this is what we're watching for overall. It's kind of been lulling sideways. Well, sideways, but in more of a downward trajectory. So it's filling this gap down here. Is what I'm trying to say in easier words. And right now, support's been around 46.75 ish. I still like it to the long side, but we just got to see how long it decides it wants to do this. It's filled the gap. Now it's got to make a decision to, start getting bought up in order to break out. And then we have these levels here at 54.45, and then again up here around 57 at an attempt to break these highs, or we keep going sideways and retesting this 46.75 support. So it looks good. It just looks like a sleeper right now, especially since it has earnings coming up um, after this month. It could sell it off over time in order to actually get in cheaper for moves like this, or it could go ahead and bake it in and the prices recover quicker. Because we see how its vibe was quick. It didn't hold very long at all Friday. It dipped, it ripped, and it actually started eating back into the previous day's price action. So it's getting bought up fairly quick. Oh, it's no problem. I don't know how the options chain on that look. As of right now, I keep it probably about like $50, the strike price. Yeah, and they're fairly priced too, the $50 strikes. So they rejected around like 360, 365. They're getting bought up below 250 right now. Um, if they go below 100, they going on sale. The $50 strikes. Yeah, they go below, I say 150, they going on sale because they got 150, 110, and then $20. That's an easy average down if it does drop that low. $60 call at 618. Let's see. And those aren't too bad either. Like if you depending on what price you got in, as long as you didn't get in up here at the top, like close to around like 280 or 300, then you took a kind of pretty bad entry. But anything below 140, you took pretty good because you might be getting hit pretty hard right now because it's in that chop phase to the downside. But if it decides it wants to break out of that pattern that we just saw, then these contracts are gonna blow up pretty quick. Now it might be a bit out the money. I'm not gonna lie to you. Let me go back to the chart. Yeah, that 60 is just like right there. 64 looks good, but you're gonna have to go longer out. But 60 is just almost pushing it. And if you look at the contracts when I was showing you what you had a 618.60. All right, so you see how this one actually has red in the structure. And then I go back to what I said, 50 or 55. But you see how this one actually has green structure in it. That's because I'm showing you guys the difference as far as how the price action holds up. So think about the red structure being theta. Even though it can shoot up, it's more likely to get eaten into quicker because of how far it has to travel to go in the money versus the time. And then you have this $50 strike price, which can easily go in the money. So therefore, it has more green, and the delta can outweigh the theta at times and keep its value a whole lot longer. So that's all that I watch for when I'm looking at strike prices is If I'm going out the money, how high or how low can I go to make sure that it's a reasonable price? And yeah, I got the indicators up, but like I said, I try to draw it out so that way it's easier. It's easier for you guys to see it. But if I just hide everything, zoom out, start at that 1 hour, and see if you see something, and you might see like a nice little weekly trend. If you need to know as an investor where you headed to, you go out to the daily and you really start looking at it to see what it's been doing, week over week. Well, I can't redraw it because it's gonna pop up, but you see what I'm saying. If you want to know how the price action is looking, it had its first red month, which means after these consecutive green months of just continuous pumping, it decided to breathe. What has it done in the past? After you've seen one red candle, normally you might be seeing, one or two followed afterwards, let you know that it's eventually coming down. We had this big ass spike from $8 all the way up to 50. So be expecting for it to breathe a little bit, because everything can't run continuously. So here's your first red month. If you are an investor, look to average down at the end of the month. You want to let prices get settled um, before you just buy at the top or at the bottom, and let prices close before you actually start putting your money into it. If it closes red again, you might wait for the next month to throw something in. Wait for it to close for an actual green month. So that way you're not trying to catch a knife or trying to time the bottom. Close on a green month, then you throw some money in there on the last day. That way you can follow it and work your way back up, and you get a pretty dope DCA into a solid, entry. So let's look at Dell. Dell's been crazy. This is one of my favorite stocks back in the day. All right, so price action already crazy. It's defying physics right now. So it's floating. It's doing this David Blaine. If you used to watch that back in the day, I might be showing my age when I say David Blaine, but um, if you watch David Blaine back in the day, he was a magician. Just used to be floating and submerging himself in the water and every. Hey, the parodies were crazy, man. But it's right now ER kind of sent through the roof. It's extremely overbought, but we don't know how to make that out. It still closed green and continue to close green. I took a big L. What made me like that was I took a big L on one of these years where it gapped up and it never came down. It might have been here. No, let's see. It might have been here. This was 2024. I remember trading it, and it was like a Palantir thing. It was either here or here, but it gapped up, and I traded that thing heavy, like probably like 10 contracts heavy, trying to scalp, and that shit just wouldn't stay down, and it pissed me off. And after that, I was just like, you know what? Let me look into Dell. Let me see why Dell was so goddamn hot. And I think at the time it was something about it being real heavy in the, I can't remember if it was quantum or AI at the time, but it just never came down. And after that, I was just like, man, look, I'm just finna start like they're one of them sleepers, absolute sleepers. So you gotta be careful. We can watch a trade sideways. Um, let's look at how extremely pulled the way it is from. So it's double the previous weekly candle. So we got a lot of room for it to either push or come back down. Let me see what the prices are right now on Dell. We were just talking about that dip on MSTR and coin. MSTR is at 159, coins at 188. So it's looking pretty decent for some entries this week. Sheesh. All right, so Dell's at 434.92. So it's rejecting literally right here at this red line up here. So I think tomorrow how it closes, that might be like super interesting. We'll have to see if it stays up above wherever it opens at. But monthly, of course, is gonna be a massive green candle. When I see big, just massive candles like this, it's another one that I just won't touch options on, just because, of course, that one time I'm scarred by. But simply because we might see it consolidate for an entire week or two or three until we actually see some prices start to look normal. For one, nobody knows, like, as far as the retail go, all you probably can get out of here are decent scalps, unless it does just pop its way down. And even if you take the entries, the spreads are probably gonna be massively wide. Over $25 apart. So if I had to take some puts, my first wave of puts, because I'm not buying calls, not when it's this high up. Even though it could continue to push, my brain just wouldn't let me. It wouldn't allow me to buy the call button. But if you print though, shout out to you. Keep making the money. I'll probably do 378, so maybe 380 puts, and my intuition say do the short ones. I don't know why. What I said I was gonna do 380. These probably so cheap. Nah, they don't even have much volume for them. Nobody's wanting to buy them. So that just lets me know it's probably gonna keep either going higher or staying within a particular range right now. Let's go to the call side. It's at 432. So let's look at let's see what the 445s look like. So these contracts, the fact that they're not showing up any real values for the options contract, it just lets me know that the OI, open interest, and the volume's probably real low for these contracts because of the volatility. I doubt anybody's really buying calls and holding them long. So don't touch Dell. Invest in it, but I wouldn't touch it. And let me see. Oh, ERT Dev said, what's trim profit? It's pretty much if you buy multiple contracts, if you buy 2 or 3 contracts at a time. Let's say we buy at the bottom you buy 3 contracts at 180. You will see the first profit taking level. Let me just click on one of them real quick. Okay, let's say that you buy 3 or 4 contracts here on spy puts, 740 puts at 375. Well, once you buy multiple, once it hits up here at 517 or 515, then you will take profit on 1 or 2 and you will leave a runner. So if you buy 3, you'll take profit on the first one at 515. Then you'll take profit on the second one around like 550 to 560. And then you will leave your runner to either go up here and try to work yourself back into higher prices, or you will just continue to trim at price targets. So it's just a style of trading where you take multiple contracts at a time and then you have actual targets for taking profits. All right, cool. And I think my boy said Palantir. Yeah, be careful on Dell. It could trade sideways for the remainder of the quarter. Hey, Palantir was dope. I posted a Twitter post when it was at like 135. Was like, watch out for the face ripper coming soon. Here it is. And the crazy shit, we had been trading 140s all back here. Like if you was following me throughout the previous weeks, I've been like 140, 140, 140. And as soon as we hit 140, it just went crazy. It got up in there, traded out of it, and then exploded to the upside. So I still think it's kind of high. The overall price target going into this next month is going to be up here at this 160 range, possibly high, but right now we're gonna look for 160s. Palantir right now is, let me see, where are you, Palantir? 160, 140. So it's already up here. Yeah, it's already pushing and breaking the 160s. So, like I said, honestly, this market, we just gonna have to see how it holds up. 160 is a nice zone for it. So the structure of it. Let's look at that. So right now, just looking at the structure of Palantir, this is where we're headed back to where a lot of price action happened. This is a very important zone for Palantir. Look how much action it gets right here. So it actually gapped above it once, and once it filled it, it sold off pretty drastically, acted as resistance. Here we got a V recovery here. Here we seen another sell off and act as resistance, and here we are approaching it again right here. So, like I said, we're right here. We're right there in this golden zone where anything could happen. Um, like I said, I'm kind of a sit on hands and wait approach. If I miss it, I miss it, but I'm not gonna just hop in here until I know that we got some sound structure within the zone right here between 160 and 164.50. So let's see what these contracts look like. I would love to see it come back down and retest bottom support right here. Like this little support zone right there. I would love to see it come back down at least to 155 to 152. Fill the gap, give us an opportunity to get in, and then ride it back to the upside as far as, going into the end of June. I would love to see money flow back into this. Overall, we're already right there in that 161 pocket. So let's look at the 170 calls. And we can actually just start off with looking at them for, we can just do this week. Starting off, look at the 170 calls. None of those really. Okay. That's better structure right there. Okay. Bro, these contracts was up like 800% on my watch list. What a 140 calls were. But look how low these contracts got. They got down to $5 freaking. $5 freaking, bro. And they shot up to 130. Well, they got as high as like 185. But $5. Hey, they probably high. They might be pushing. If they were up like 161, they could be retesting this $200 range. So even if it pops up to $200, this is a good structure for them to push up probably another $100 from 210 to 310, and that's where we may stall out because that's where prices took a major hit at, and a lot of the money was taken out of it. But it still has some structure right there around $200. If we go out a little further to the 12th and look at the 170s, they probably have a little better structure. They got down to $15. So the 12s aren't as good. 26, 170. So bro, all these just were cheap, super cheap. Just monthly calls here with they were at $50 for 170s. They went from 50 to $540. That's crazy. But that's just welcome to the market. Welcome to the freaking market. So, like I said, the most that I'll probably touch on Palantir right now is the 170 calls. From the looks of it, they can go they can go as early as this week. But we gotta see the confirmation first. We gotta see the structure, and if it pushes up without the structure, then it pushes up. If it makes one of these moves right here to the down, I mean to the upside that we seen it make to the downside, to where it just doesn't stop, I'll live with that. I'll definitely live with that. But like I said, we'll just have to see how the market holds up. Going into tomorrow, Bitcoin is chopped right now, still to this day. ES is making a slow trickle up still. So like I said, everything is actually breaking highs. So it's still trying to make its way up. And then NQ is still making its way higher too. But watch this zone. That's what I'm gonna be watching tomorrow. I'm gonna see how we hold up above this level right here, and see if they decide they want to start taking profits or not. Cause it's already a bit overextended. So just keep your eyes on this for tomorrow. A slight pullback. But I done held you guys up long enough, pushing on hour 15, and got able to cover a few things: Coin, MSTR, ServiceNow, Nvidia, VIAV, Dell, Palantir, and Oracle. Pretty dope. Hope you guys was able to pick up something out the video. As always, that's gonna be able to help you out throughout the week. And you know where I'm at. If y'all got questions, DMs always open. Um, the King's Chamber is always open. We got a ton of resources, as you guys know. So yeah, we gonna get to it in the morning, man, and we gonna whatever the market gives to us, we gonna make it work for us. So y'all definitely lock in. Put some good music in your ears, man. Take you some time to just breathe before the market opens. And once the bell rings, we become warriors. You feel me? So y'all have a good night, and we'll chop it up. Oh, Zscaler, I forgot. Let me go and knock that out for you real quick. I'm glad you said something. Is this the right one? Nah, I can't have the right one. What's the ticker for it? Oh, never mind. I got you. Yeesh. What happened to it? Okay. earnings can happen to it. All right. Be careful on it. I like calls to the upside. Not gonna fake. I do. Oh, this must be old. Oh yeah, this old. I got some old drawings on here. It's came all the way down that far since the last time I looked at this. Sheesh. But yeah, it's approaching some decent support. Here above 120. Watch out. Look at this gap right here. Could be working his way down towards it. It's getting kind of close. And with that big gap down right there, that could be the difference maker. Well, if it closed at 139, it definitely got saved. But it's not too far away from previous lows. Yeah. So it saved itself. It ended up closing green, but it's not too far from breaking its 123 lows that could send it back down here and start a little chain reaction. So are you trying to play calls or puts, or what you how you trying to play it? It's down bad, possibly a run up. Calls. All right. So as of right now, let's see, fam. Um, ABSI, yeah, I got you on that one too. As of right now, big gap down. We probably can see a retest like 155. Watch for calls. Call between 140 and 120. I know it's a big window, but this is the structure we're between right here. So this is kind of the structure simply because it made a nice V-shaped recovery on the bounce. So it was bought up fairly quick. Lets me know they like it at that level and want to push it back up to 155. So the calls might work depending on what strike you got and when it expires. That plays a lot into it, but I like it for a recovery up there. If we look at let's look at the 155s. All right, so yeah, so right now 155 calls are on discount. That's still on discount right now below 355, but they look even better below 225 for the recovery back up. So how I would play it, if the contracts drop back below 225, that's a reasonable starter position, and then you can allow it to work its way back up, and you can rinse and repeat contracts between 225 and 355, and then eventually you'll be able to leave a runner for it to make its way back up. So below 225 on these 155 calls, they look like a winner if this uptrend picks back up. And ABS, yeah. Uh, oh, that's wild. Nice, very nice chart. It's one of those. No stock splits. It just dropped. IPO 21 drop sideways. Recovery. Floor around 215. Ceiling was somewhere at 645, 635. So it's in a level right now to where you want to be careful. It could be trying to transition to the upside and build some support here. So all right, it's pretty volatile. All right, so between 580 and 550, that's kind of like your hot zone transition level. You will want to look for entries below 640 just because it's pinching off highs. Let's see if there's any type of pattern. Not much of a pattern really. There goes your highs right there. So you'd be looking for any type of rejection above 745. And of course that's in my purple zone, which is overbought. Red's really overbought, but purple's overbought too. And you will just look for any type of entries below the high. So 580 or below to see if this structure holds up for a move back up towards. It could push back up towards $8. Calls or shares or puts. Calls. Let's look at $8 calls then. Oh, you got $7 calls, or looking at $7. 717. All right, the 717s don't really have much action on them. Neither does these either. All right, so August 21st. August 21st actually has a little bit more action, and they were peaking out around $180. So when it comes down, anything below 120 will probably be a steal. It dropped down as low as $45, and then it was peaking out around 135. So yeah, really start really looking for discounts below 120. Sweet spot around 90 to $80. If you get around, if contracts come back around here, then they look good. They look good to buy for the swing back around up to 150. So it might require a little patience just to see how the price action plays out, but discounts are under $100 definitely for this one on our August 21st ones. Cool. All right, family. I'm finna wrap this up. Uh, what the time it is? It's 9 o'clock where I'm at. 9:25. So I know some of y'all on the East Coast, y'all time is later than that over there. So definitely appreciate you guys tapping in, man. And anybody that wasn't here, it's gonna be up and posted on YouTube and in the channel for you guys to tap in. So see you guys in the morning. Y'all have a good night, and we're gonna get back to the money tomorrow. Peace.